Welcome to Core Concepts. Our music today is been by Chris Puminati, and we hope to, if you're familiar with the Core Concepts, with the Renford Broadcast Network, where Core Concepts is shown, that we have a section called Music with Meaning, and where we have the original music of different artists, and we hope to have Chris up on that site here pretty soon as well. As you know, this show is sponsored by the Institute of Applied Metaphysics and the Church of Revelation, and by the Grindz Coffee Shop. Our proprietor is Ahmed Sharif, and we're in that location today. Our guests are come to tell us what they believe, why they believe it, and what they're doing about it. And we have some very interesting guests today. I think quite a unique operation in the Memphis area. Kent Fischer and Michelle Rappaport, and they're going to be talking about their organization, Experiential Healing Center. And the Experiential Healing Center, I mean, we have a lot of counselors and so forth here, but this is a very different type of organization. So I want to welcome Kent and Michelle to the show today.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this came about? Because this really is an unusual type of organization in this area.
Pretty unique for this area, and we've been in business for about 15 years. And Michelle and I actually met in graduate school, and as typical graduate school programs, we were taught cognitive therapy, talk therapy, and then we were both in an alcohol and drug counseling preparation program, and we ended up working in an inpatient treatment center, working with people who had substance abuse problems, and got there and realized really quickly that the preparation we had, our master's degree, would not equip us, we felt, for working with that population, because there were people that really struggled with their affect, their feelings, their daily living, and some of that talk therapy was not sufficient enough to help them heal what needed to be healed. And that's where we met in graduate school. And we started the conversation 25 years ago about that there has to be other ways to help people heal, and set out on that journey to find other ways. And it was not long after graduate school that we found experiential therapy training. Experiential therapy being a pretty wide umbrella of therapeutic approaches that allows people to, through action, music, art, movement, expression, to access feelings and therefore heal their feelings. And so that's really what got us started. And as we started training in that, we took it back to the hospitals that we were working in and started titrating in that new modality to these people that were struggling with substance abuse, and saw changes right away in allowing people to do more expression, to do art and movement and music, and do different kinds of therapy than traditional talk therapy. So, and Michelle interned with me at that hospital, and that's kind of how we started that process. I'll let her talk a little bit about that, and we'll kind of lead into how we created what we did here at Memphis.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So, the way I like to tell a story is I got into the healing field through my own journey and my own process. And in graduate school, started learning a little bit about addictions and eating disorders. And at that time, these were 25 years ago, traditional graduate programs, they're not studying the body. They're not studying the brain. They're certainly not studying spirit or consciousness. You get some, abnormal psychology occasionally here and there, but, in pharmacology, but not a lot of information. And so I remember going into graduate school and meeting Kent and already kind of having a connection with him, because similarly we were both looking for, how can you really treat emotional issues if you're not including the body in this in some way, shape, or form, and not just talking in a cognitive way. And so he had a gig working at a treatment center. It's in the middle of a soybean field in Columbia, Louisiana. It's a tiny hospital down there. And I did my internship under him. And again, been trained very cognitively, very, tell me what you're feeling kind of thoughts. And went in one day and Kent was there doing therapy with, at those days, it was a group of people that they would bus up from New Orleans. Mostly homeless individuals who had really hard lives, using a lot of drugs, street drugs, a lot of prostitution, that kind of stuff.
We're getting any help anywhere.
And we're not really just desperate people who probably had never had compassion or empathy shown for them in much of a real way at all. Moved up to this little soybean field place in Columbia. And I went in and Kent was doing a group. And he had his little tie on, very professional. I'm like, well, let's see what this looks like. Oh, something like that, yeah. And there was a gentleman there who, he was about 6'2", African-American guy, about 250. Big dude, right? Really intimidating guy. And Kent was doing therapy with him. And one of the things that in experiential work, it's about engaging the body, it's about engaging spontaneity, it's about creativity, really engaging the spirit of the person, and not just talking. And so Kent had, using a technique called role play, had a stuffed animal in the room. It was a yellow bunny about, 4 inches, maybe 6 inches high. And he put this yellow bunny out in the middle of the room with this guy, and I thought, I can't wait to see what happens here. This will be really interesting, right? Because I'm expecting, whatever. And in about 10 or 15 minutes, he was laying in Kent's arms, this big guy, heaving, sobbing, and crying, and Kent was rocking. And I thought, well, what is this? This looks like magic. Because I'd never seen that. And that nobody ever taught me that in graduate school. And I thought, I want to learn what this is. And so set off on a journey myself and started a conversation with him at that time that was about what is this? Why does this work? How does this happen? And how can we bring this to people in a real way? And in a real way that's, not just in a felt like we know this would work, but in a clinical, we can prove this would work kind of way too. So that really started a conversation between us about a shared vision we had about not just sitting behind a desk with a pad and paper and taking notes and doing an intake and asking people a lot of questions about their childhood, but really about how to engage people in kind of a heart-to-heart, body-to-body, spirit-to-spirit kind of way. And that kind of set us off on a journey of a shared vision to create a place like Experiential Healing Center where we do a lot more than just talk therapy. And we do a lot of body work, and we do, we include massage, yoga, and Reiki, and acupuncture, and do experiential work, somatic work that's about engaging the body in the process. And the truth is it's kind of funny because the whole field now is starting to shift in this way that we're actually starting to treat the body. And, brain, like brain, consciousness, which one do we treat? I don't know. I'm still yet trying to figure that out. Really, I don't care. I'm just trying to pay attention to all of it. But now the field is really shifting into trying to pay attention to what the nervous system is doing and, where feelings come from. They come from in our bodies and not in our heads. It's from down here. And there's some real good clinical evidence to back that up these days, which we've kind of always known, but not really ever had the ability to kind of show clinically how that works. And now we do. And so we're able to come to venues like this and talk about what we do with people who I think believe in, some of what we're talking about, but we can also take it to a lot of the clinical environments also and say this is how this works. Is empathy and compassion being really measured now in observable ways. And you can see the body and the brain and the nervous system transform today.
The other thing is in the mission statement, we talked about how we want a safe environment. And
actual mission statement. The mission of the center is to provide those who are ready for change. It's pretty difficult to help anybody who doesn't want to be helped.
Not willing, that's right.
The mission of the center is to provide those who are ready for change with experienced therapists, a safe environment, and the supportive community necessary to transform their lives. And their office is located, I might go ahead and get them this little insert or advertisement here, 1713 Lockett Place, Memphis, Tennessee, 38104. And if you are watching the show and you'd like to ask more questions, you can email them at staff@ehcmemphis.com. That was part of the introduction, so you allowed me to get it in.
Yeah, thank you. Well, what I was going to say about the safe environment is to do experiential therapists have to take the journey themselves. So that is something we feel we're different about, is we don't just value the education, we value the journey, the personal walk. And to do that training, you have to do your own work. And I think that's what transforms in the environment, is rather than being a clinician who's offering an assessment or a product to a client, we're offering guidance in a process we walk through ourselves. And I think that's what feels different to me. When we reconnected years after that soybean field hospital in the late 90s, we wanted to create a center where all those components could come together and diverse modalities could integrate into a cohesive experience, that people could come to one place and do different kinds of modalities with the same spirit, the same intent that we talk about there. One thing Michelle talked about in our training in graduate school, so much of what we understand now, we've sought training additional to our degrees, because you don't really learn about.
That's what all those letters are.
Letters, oh, you wanted me to talk
Yeah,
about
the
those
alphabet's
letters after
behind
my
learning,
training.
yes.
Either I'm a workaholic and/or I'm really passionate about learning as much as I can to help people. It's such a sacred job when someone sits there in front of you and says, please help me. And to hold that with some reverence and to know the awesomeness of that job. I want to know as much as I can. So I do have excessive letters out of my.
Well, there's I'm sure a wide range of your clientele, but could you give some kind of a rough idea of the type of, maybe a prototype of the type of person who comes in and says, hey, I need help?
Oh, prototype. I mean, we work
That's
a lot.
hard.
It is. It really is,
Yeah.
because I don't like to pigeonhole anybody. So
Right.
I can tell you, a lot of people fall under that umbrella that they have experienced some kind of trauma in their life, and I use that word in the way we use it, which is there's big T trauma, which is like 9/11, obvious and big and dramatic and all that. But there's also little T trauma, which is relational, which is some of those ruptures, divorce, death, mental illness, addiction, illnesses of all sorts, and families, and how kids in our world grow up with a lot of that, and that's kind of norm for.
Never treated.
And it's never addressed. It's never addressed yet. The divorce rate's at 52%, and there's a drugstore on every corner, and where there's not a drugstore, there's probably a liquor store, and So, but that's or maybe a church, right? And that's part of what I would say is that's our forte in training, is this idea that in our culture and in our world, we've started really looking for those quick fixes and immediate gratifications and lost the connection
that it supersedes my attachments to myself, to a higher power, to create people, to life, to other things that I, for whatever reason, somewhere along the developmental path, that attachment got ruptured, maybe multiple times over time. Particularly, the other thing, I've come to learn is I don't know anybody that has one singular way that they medicate their feelings. There's usually multiple ways. So thus the old analogy of the whack-a-mole. In my field, we're taught you get one thing taken care of and another thing. Rather than treat the core of that, which is really that wounded attachment that we usually experience developmentally over time, and rather than get the healing that we needed, we, introduced some kind of medicating, some kind of chemical or behavior that for a while anesthetized that for me. And one of the things I think as therapists is we really try to teach that you can't help someone else regulate if you're not regulated yourself. So if I medicated myself, I can't really help you, as she was saying, adjust your own nervous system, because I'm just talking and my nervous system is waiting for the cigarette break that I'm going to have in a couple of hours, or the coffee break, or the sugar break, or whatever I'm going to have. That's going to alter my own mood. So I'm not in that place where I can help you regulate that, like in a way that a caregiver would someone who's like the image she gave of the guy. If you offer that to someone and someone's willing to heal that, they're receptive to that. The other thing I say to people is I can't treat unwillingness. I can treat even a little smidge of willingness. I cannot treat unwillingness. So, and I've worked in those places where court ordered or mandated by the courts, and that's a whole different treatment.
I'll say this because because that population piece again, we do get a lot of people who struggle with different addictions, whether it be sex, love, relationship, work, nicotine, alcohol, drugs, money. I mean, there's a plethora of food, all of those. But it's one of the things, unlike 25 years ago in a cognitively trained place, that we have come to experience through our own process, as well as through what now we teach and try to put out there even implicitly, is, for a lot of us, we'd be dead without them. If I hadn't found some sugar real early on, I'd probably be dead somewhere. It's not even a joke. It's really true. And then some nicotine a little later. I mean, we're talking in the days when, I was a sixth grader buying cigarettes. It used to happen like that.
When you get older, get to the interesting part.
Yeah, it always gets, because eventually those things stop working.
Yeah.
And so I was trained in the old idea that you bring an addict in and you tear them down to build them back up. Not real compassionate, not real empathetic. That this idea of bringing an addict in and having a lot of empathy and compassion for, that you've done the best you can with what you got, and we get that. We get that because we've lived that.
What you're doing.
Well, this is very interesting. I have a pretty steady stream of people that are calling, you need to have so-and-so on your show, all right? And I was very attracted to actually the name of your company, Experiential, all right? Because I've given you some material. My program has to do with identifying and verifying these principles in your own life experience.
Right.
So I don't really think you learn anything at all without the experiential aspect. How do you approach that with your work?
Are we talking with clients or with the community? Because that's an ongoing conversation. I'll also tell you, one of the banes of my existence that we keep getting called the experimental illness. I just want to clarify. And that gets, when we've been on TV, they misprint it. We're not doing experiments down there. We know what we're doing. So I just want to clarify that. That's we put that in our name to invite that ongoing conversation. I'll say that to begin with, because people think, what is that? Exactly. So it invites the conversation that you can't take someone somewhere you have not been yourself. It also invites the conversation with clients that to walk you through, I have to have walked myself. And then clients can be a bit intimidated by that, because a lot of people are pretty therapy savvy and they want to come in where they can just tell you what the problem is and not feel it. because the feelings are what they're trying to numb themselves from anyway. So you start introducing the conversation of experiential not being something threatening or intimidating, but it's a gentle approach to getting some affect and some feelings moving from them. And titrating the conversation, oscillating, I should say, between giving up something I'm not doing and letting some of what we've been keeping anesthetized start to come up.
Because the experience is really the only way you really know something. Anything else is self-belief, right?
That's the difference between knowing something and knowing something. And that's, I would say, the difference in experiential work. Experiential work is kind of the embodiment of knowing, more than just the thinking, I know, you know, like, I know how you feel versus I know.
Conscious.
And that's that conversation about consciousness and, you know, the mind and the nervous system and all that and what's what. And I don't know, I don't have all the answers to that, but I'm paying attention to all of it, you know. But this idea that, you know, there is an embodiment, and that's, you know, kind of going back to that empathy idea. I mean, I learned in graduate school about empathy, like, oh, I get it, I know how you feel. That those are words I can say to somebody and mirror that back in words. But if I'm not feeling that, implicitly that will come out.
You don't know.
Exactly. And the transformation that happens in that relational piece is probably not going to happen. You know, even if I want it to, it's just not, because there's not really that implicit way that helps soothe and change and create safety and transformation.
Is there an actual program you take them through? I mean, is each individual separate, or is there some type of procedure or program that you go step by step through, or not?
Not. I'll say that, but I'll also say, so we do intensives. We have 4, 7, and 14-day intensives that people come in. We have a bed and breakfast right next to our office that we house people in. They come next door to our office for the therapy.
Do they come from a wide range?
They do.
Oh, really?
From Canada, from all over the United States. They come for our programs.
Oh, really?
We have a following in Canada. I'm not really sure why,
That's so
but the word of
curious.
mouth has gotten out. And they come and stay, you know, for 4, 7, 14 days, and, you know, they do, each intensive has group and individual and body work, Reiki, and all that stuff to do an integrated approach. We also...
Since this is on YouTube, you may have them coming from places you never even heard of.
Exactly, which would be fun. We already have some unusual places, but our programs also, we ask people to clear their system out, so our programs are sugar-free, nicotine-free, caffeine-free. We try to get a good baseline to get them as clear, detoxing them.
In a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, not just, that's a chemical way, but also we're trying to, you know, detox them from some of the intensity and the processes that they're involved in life. One of the ways we do that is ask them to give up their phone for a few days and not be on
big
their...
one.
Anything
on
but
their
my phone.
That's a big one. It's a big one.
On their
It's the
crackberry.
hardest one.
Right, that is the hardest one, because we stay plugged in all the time. But, I would also say that because I think healing happens in community, we are a proponent of different types of group work. I tell people when they come in for an individual session, it's going to require more than me to heal. And whether it's group therapy or group support or communities or churches or whatever you do in your community, it's going to take more than an individual. Because I think the we part of healing takes place and is transformative. So we do encourage most people to do some kind of group component, whether it's a weekly group or something like that, because I think that's important. And the intensive, I kind of recommend everybody at least do one of those, because until you unplug from your life for at least a few days and you know, kind of submerge yourself into your process, it's really hard to get any real change to take effect. If you're coming in for therapy once a week and then go back out to your life, I think it's where the transformation happens, is when you can unplug for a few days or a few weeks for some people, and you know, help readjust some of that dysregulation that they've got.
You talked about physical, bringing physical after you. Are you talking about yoga? I mean, mentally, you might be talking about meditation, but what all might it include?
Well, you know, for some people, it's what we offer in our intensives is an opportunity to try some things that maybe people have never done before. You know, some people have never been to a meditation class. Some people have never been to a yoga class. Some people have never done Reiki. Some people have never done acupuncture. Because not everything works for everybody. You know, some things work better for some. And that's part of that mission is we have a staff that is diverse enough, yet trained enough, that if you have somebody who has a transformation on a Reiki table with our Reiki practitioners, they're going to be able to help soothe and maintain and hold the safety for that person as much as if they had something with one of us or in a yoga class. Because different ways, different inroads for people work differently. Sometimes people need an intervention through the body rather than an intervention through a thought or an intervention through a feeling. It just, different things work for different people. And so that's why we offer like a spectrum of things for people to try, because somebody may come in and be like, wow, I really had a profound experience in Reiki, or the yoga class, I've never paid that much attention to my body before in my life, and that was really remarkable and life-changing for me. You know, we really offer all those things for people to be able to pay attention, and you're talking about people that are pretty numb and anesthetized to their bodies, you know, either, you know, again, using drinking, working, you know, whatever, not really paying attention much from neck down. And so anything we can get to get them to start paying attention to that again, where that knowing lives, where I think feelings live, where I think consciousness lives, you know, all of that I think is real.
So you yourself have been sort of a public spokesman for the group, have you not? You've been on several shows.
I have.
Could you give our viewers your web address or some way they can go in and find out more about what you do?
Yeah, you can find us at ehcmemphis.com. Okay. ehcmemphis.com, all one word, ehcmemphis.com. And all our programs are up there, information about the staff, our mission statement, what we do, how we do, that kind of thing. You can contact us through that as well, and other ways to contact us via phone and et cetera as well. So,
Do they call you and talk to you a little bit first about what's going on? So
There's an intake person that will discuss what your needs are and either have you come in and do a screening and see what's the best fit. Again, we have different practitioners that do different approaches, so we like to think we don't just put you anywhere. We put you where we think you'll fit the best, where your needs will be addressed the best.
how many practitioners do you have?
We have 8, and then we have
Different disciplines.
We have a
Yes.
music therapist, we have an art therapist, we have experientially trained therapists.
we have some with lots of letters.
EMT,
Lots of letters.
yeah, I mean, really all different modalities, because again, everyone's
Where do you see it going from here? I mean, is it changed? Is it what you thought you were going to create when you started?
Well, we started 15 years ago, and it's become much what we envisioned, and we're working on getting a book published, as you know, and I think doing more of introducing a wider audience to the kind of work, the programs that we do, and I think the programs are going to expand. We have one starting in 2014 that's going to be kind of our trademark program called Emotional Harmony, and that again is the title of the book coming out too, but
Emotional Harmony.
Emotional Harmony, and really starting to introduce the conversation about emotional regulation. And, you know, again, we were kind of trained in addiction recovery, and I think that approach felt very narrow to us for a lot of people that didn't identify with having acute addictions, or really addiction was not their problem. But intimacy or relationships or cumulative stress and trauma were their problems. And really in some ways very similar to what we were trained, just that what they use to medicate themselves with is not acute enough to get help. So maybe it's not the drug addict that seeks out a treatment center, or the sex addict who's gotten caught and has to go. Much more, it's the people who are functioning and living, but not quite as passionate and as alive and as aware as they would like to be. And so that program was really made to speak to those people, incorporating just what we were just talking about. It has a metaphysical component of music therapy and art therapy. And what I say to people is there's different modalities, not all of them will speak to you, but you're going to find something that does. And that's the greatest gift. If you walk out of there and you have found something that sings to your soul, then there are many paths to peace. Go find it.
There are some centers here that are funded by grants and work especially with addiction. Is there anything different about what you do than what they do? Or would you know?
Yeah, I can't necessarily speak to all of them because I don't necessarily know all of them. I have worked with some, and again, I would say the primary difference might be what I mentioned earlier is we don't kind of take a very traditional idea about treating addiction. That that there is this idea that it is necessary to abstain from behaviors that are just keeping us looping in the same pattern. But there's also a different way to help people regulate, soothe, rather than just making it painful. That there can be a softer way to do that. So that old kind of, tear them down and build them back up, and it's got to be hard, and, they're so defensive, we got to tear down, that kind of way is not necessarily what we do.
Now, when you get to the root of the problem with the patient,
Problems.
It's
very seldom singular.
Right.
Is there a sort of a maintenance program that you train them, a way to work with, or a way to deal with this, or do they just have to keep coming back?
Well, I like to think that, having a good therapist is like having a good accountant or a good,
Dentist.
or a good rabbi or a good priest or whatever,
Nothing wrong with coming back.
That you may go and do and live life and come up against life on life's terms and need somewhere to come back to.
Get a cleaning.
Right, to kind of do a tune-up. I think people take better care of their cars than they do their emotional health. So
Better than their physical health.
definitely better than their physical health, which is, kind of back to the other question that you asked before about how it's transformed is as our journeys have transformed, my own included, my physical health being part of that has been part of my transformation with the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis 12 years ago. That's been a huge part of this for me, is how, we've got illnesses on the rise in our world, diagnostically that's part of we're getting better diagnosing. But diabetes, fibromyalgia, MS, migraines, lupus, all of the endocrine system things that are, and that's been a huge transformation of an envisioning that I didn't see 25 years ago, that I think has come into fruition in how we do things. And the cool thing is it's really not all that different than what we're doing.
Tell us a little bit about the book. Now, I know you don't expect people to buy that book and not come. That's got to be an introduction to a new concept, but tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'll just say how it came to be is one of the things we're known for is what's called a reconstruction process. And the book was really centered around this workshop that we do called Family Reconstruction. And it would take a while to explain that, but it's an 8 to 10 hour psychodrama of a person's life from birth to the present. And I've worked with somebody for anywhere for months to years to prepare for this. And they bring in their music, their art, their yearbooks, their scrapbooks, their autobiography, their genograms, their all that work. And we prepare for this intensive process for that. And we want to write about the reconstruction process in that not everybody actually does the reconstruction day that we do, but in a healing therapeutic way, a lot of people, that's what they're asking for. is to reconstruct their lives, to transform their lives. So we wrote the books for those people who maybe can't do the workshop with us, but actually want more out of a healing or a therapeutic process than just a behavior modification.
That'd be an interesting film documentation. You could do that.
It would be very, I have filmed them all for the last 10 years, so I have them filmed, yes. Because I think someday there's going to be something I'm going to want to do with that. Absolutely. But it's a pretty phenomenal experience. I say my mission in life is I want everybody to see at least one. If you see one, you cannot help but be impacted by it. To see someone go through their life experientially from birth to the present helps the viewer, the observer, the conscious witness get in touch with their own ruptured pieces of themselves and do some integration just in the experience themselves. So the book really came out of that process. It's something unique to us. I only know one other place in the country that does the reconstruction process. We were trained through a place called Onsite that's now in Nashville. To do that came from Virginia Satir. She taught Sharon Wegsheimer Cruz, who founded Onsite, and Sharon trained a bunch of us. So really it goes back to Virginia Satir, some of the founders in the field of psychotherapy and psychodrama. So it's a pretty phenomenal experience.
Is this you see this as a movement? Is this something that's going to change therapy across the board, or are you kind of out there and like lone wolves fighting the battle?
I would say a little of both. I think there is some lone wolf energy behind some of that, but I also think there's a shift happening in the field. I think many clinicians are starting to really take a different look at healing and how that is addressed, and it's not just anymore, the Sigmund Freud sit behind the desk with a pen, kind of thing. It's really changing.
Asking them what they think.
Right.
When you spoke earlier about those places that do traditional alcohol drug treatment, they get grants. When some of them are even introducing yoga classes and mindfulness meditation. They did a mindfulness meditation group in a jail in a prison system in Alabama. And they saw that it transformed the population. So even in some of those non-traditional ways that we are introducing a new consciousness to the mental health field, it's happening at small micro levels and macro levels. I like to think we're part of that. I think in this area of the country, Memphis is where the rare. It does feel pretty lonely here.
That's coming out of Alabama. That's quite a change from Tuskegee.
That is a bit of a change.
It's a real change.
But I like to think that's what we're doing, just keeping steady and building what we have here is trying to introduce it. We also have a certification that we've created ourselves called Somatic Experiential Therapist Specialist.
Which is part of that transformation. Also, the vision is we're hoping also to train clinicians about how to do this work differently, other than in the traditional ways that we were taught in school. Is that there's an opportunity to take it deeper and have a different process.
Is that a scholarship type of program, or is that a regular training program that you're doing?
Regular training program.
And you're doing that, what,
Starts
periodically in workshops or something?
It's a 4-module training.
If you want to do the whole certification.
If you want to do the certification,
or you
there's
can get
4
little
modules.
trainings along the way. That
Either
too is
one.
on our website as well. So that's one of the ways we're trying to
Ripple.
in the community and getting some real interest in people that they are finding the traditional methods aren't really helping people heal.
And if you can't duplicate what you're doing, then it's...
Right. And that was one of the things that was just really eye-opening. It is teachable, but not teachable in the head way. It's teachable in an embodied way, which is why it's 4 modules spread out over a period of time, is because there's a transformation that happens in the individual as they go through the training, in their own body, in their own experience.
We have a few minutes left. I wonder if you would like to both of you give a message to our viewers. Just talk a little bit about what you would like for them to know from that average person that's sitting out there thinking I got problems and I just can't seem to solve those problems, what would you say, what would you say to them?
I'm going to repeat what Michelle said earlier because it's what I tell people. I really believe people do the best they can with what they want, and what they're doing serves a purpose. And I can work with all kinds of things. I work with people that I think society would not, sex offenders, or one of those popular domestic violence perpetrators. If you really even those people have with the lens of, I get that you're doing the best you can with what you're doing. And if we can listen to your story in context, if I can sit with you with compassion and empathy, and I can hear your story in context, it will make sense on some level. And I believe there's restoration and reconstruction in all of us. I think that is the message I would want to say, that even the people that we think are unhealable are. And I have worked with many people that speak to that. And I myself, my own journey, that's what led me into this work, is I felt like I was one of the people that really life had cast out. And, that I found a reason to, purpose to my life. It gives me the ability to sit with people and offer that same hope to them.
It seems to me that since there's so little to do with rehabilitation in the prisons, that there would be, this would be a tremendous program to have in prison systems to keep from having the recidivist.
I think my message would be, because I'm a concrete person. I have a very large, apparently, left hemisphere in my brain, and so I like proof and like that kind of stuff, and I'm satisfied when I get it. And what I think I'd say to those people is, about 8 years ago, Time Magazine did an article on neuroplasticity. It's a very real thing. They talk about it on commercials now and all this. It's a very real thing, and what it is that there is room for repair. We used to think that by the age of 8, whatever you experienced, you were stuck with, and that was going to transform the rest of your life forever.
A 25-year philosophy.
Whatever, right. That is not the truth.
Right.
The truth is your brain has the capacity to change, your nervous system has the capacity to change well into your 90s. That is always possible. And so, like what I say to people is TGFR, thank goodness for repair. Because that, I think, is a message of hope for people. If it's been hard and if it's been survival, there is an opportunity to change. It takes 90 days to create a new neural pathway in the brain. That was what they found in the Time Magazine article 8 years ago, that you can change. It might be hard and it might be difficult. There are people who can walk with you on that journey, but there's hope, a lot of it.
It's been great having you on the show, both of you. Now, tell us again, people who want to know some information, they go to
EHCMemphis.
ehcmemphis.com. All right. And then they can get that information and they can email you from there, I guess, or call or anything.
They could email me or Kent, the staff. They can call. They'll be well cared for and attended to.
It's been great having you on the
Thanks
show.
for having
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
And thank you very much for being with us today on Core Concepts.